p.m. And tonight we have a very exciting show for you, but we also have an eye on what is a developing story: fire at the pedestrian market at the Nkrumah Circle, not very far from here. So tonight we're going to be keeping an eye on that, but there's a big issue as well. So the Public Utility Regulatory Commission has been hosting various utility service providers who have been trying to justify tariff adjustments. Gridco, Netco, ECG, and of course the Ghana Water Company. Tonight I have a rep from one of the major utility service providers and somebody from a key think tank to try and discuss an issue. Power tariff increment or adjustments. What is the justification? What do you think? When I come back from this short break, I'll tell you who my guests are and how you can get involved. But our show is live and interactive. #Point of View. We're also live on Facebook at CityTVGH. If you see the stream on Facebook, you can comment with your views about whether any kind of tariff adjustment is justifiable or not. We'll be right back.
The conversations that help you shape your spiritual journey as a Christian. Find the answers you seek. Catch the 700 Club with Pat Robertson every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. on City TV.
Welcome back. This is The Point of View. We're live on City TV this and every Monday and Wednesday. My name is Bernard Avle. It's your favorite current affairs show. We just crossed over from CNR, where we've been bringing you a live report of a fire outbreak at Odona at Nkrumah Circle, not too far from here. But tonight we're going to talk about proposals for power tariff adjustments in particular. And I have some two very interesting people. Pauline Anaman is the head of policy at the Africa Center for Energy Policy, one of the most respected think tanks when it comes to the power and energy sector. Pauline, great to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, Bernard.
I also have the Market Operations Manager for the Ghana Grid Company. It's the utility company at the center of that nice chain. VRA generates generally, Gridco transmits, ECG distributes. And Mr. Nto Redu is here to talk to us about the role Gridco plays in the power sector and why there needs to be an adjustment in tariff. Kofi, good to have you. Good evening.
Nice to have you.
Great. So I'm going to take you straight to a report we filed a couple of days, in fact, 2 days ago, when the PURC met with the various utility providers.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, in keeping with its mandate, engaged utility service providers and other stakeholders ahead of the 2019 tariff review. For the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, a 95% increment in distribution service charges is the only measure that will help the company keep its asset base in shape. Kofi Nto is the operations and marketing officer of Gridco.
So Gridco had to think about how we can get this line constructed. We came to realize that the tariff of 4.897 pesos per kilowatt hour would be sufficient for us to be able to continue to do business. But it's more important that we are able to sustain.
For the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, Netco, they would require a 39% increment in their charges to be able to meet up transmission costs. Thompson Nagaleb is the commercial manager for NEDCO.
We are asking that the distribution service charge should be jacked up from the existing 0.307555 to 0.430526 in 2019. By the nature of our operations and then the revenue we had in 2015, these are some of the things we have put in place. We've gotten a mobile substation so that where there's a problem within the line, we can quickly move in and restore power whilst we work on the line.
On the matter of the concessionaire power distribution services taking over the operations of ECG, the PURC says has received a proposal that only asks for a 23 peswa increment. Ismail Ejukumhine chairs the PURC technical subcommittee.
As regulators, that the only cost we know is the ECG cost. So that's going to be the starting point. But they have proposals, and like the ECG presenter said, they're asking for 23 pesos per kilowatt hour in distribution charges. So I don't know where people got this idea that because the PDS is coming in, tariffs are going to go up by a certain magnitude. Yes, PDS is coming in, but we had a utility, and you are saying that you're going to do better. So we expect that they do better than ECG. So
Enclave Power and the Ghana Water Company were the other service providers at the forum. Ismail Ejukumhine further assures that the interest of consumers will guide the determination of new tariffs.
For increment all the time. I mean, even in 2018, that tariffs were reduced for the first time, they asked for huge increments. So yes, it's their duty to ask, but it's our duty to vet the cost and make sure that customers are being made to pay the right tariff. So at this stage, I mean, I won't get into percentages, but you saw the presentation. They do always ask for increments, and if not for anything, they will use the exchange rate and inflation as the basis. Okay, so yes, they will always make their proposals, and it's the PURC's duty to make sure that the right tariffs are approved.
Consultations ahead of the PURC's planned announcement of new tariffs by February. It has been meeting here today various stakeholders, especially power distributors. Most of them are asking for an increment, but the PURC is also bent on protecting the interest of the consumer. Reporting from North Region Accra, my name is Duke Mensah-Opoku for City News.
So that was Duke Mensah-Opoku's report. So Kofi, you were there making a proposal. Just explain to me the process that we go through before tariffs eventually get adjusted.
Okay, Bernard. I'll attempt to go through the process. What happens is that there is a major tariff review every 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And in between the major tariff review, there are what we call the automatic adjustments to take care of inflation and exchange rates.
Okay.
So the PURC sets out a methodology that has to be followed and is backed by law. Now, when it kicks in, the PURC writes to all the utilities to submit a proposal for tariff adjustment, and this is a major tariff review. Once we submit the proposals to the PURC, they engage the public, again a legal requirement, so that we engage the public and present our proposals to them, for them to have a view, and it will help guide the PURC in determining this tariff. Remember, the PURC is caught up between the utilities on one side, who say sometimes the cost of doing their business is going up, and then we have the consumers on one side who saying we cannot afford to pay this one. But I don't envy the PURC when it comes to that, because they have to juggle these two very carefully to ensure that the business becomes sustainable, and at the same time the public is able to afford it.
So is this something you do throughout the country, these engagements?
Yes, the PURC comes out with a timetable, a schedule.
Okay.
In fact, this year we've been to Tamale, we've been to Kumasi, we are in Accra, and I think tomorrow we have an engagement with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy.
I see. So you made a presentation at the program,
Yes, I did.
and you were proposing, what was your proposal?
Gridco was asking for an increase from 2.5107 pesos to 4.879 pesos per kilowatt hour per unit of electricity. Now, the transmission business is such that we have what we call a postage stamp tariff. That irrespective of where the power is being injected and where it will be withdrawn, Gridco charges a single price. So whether the power is going to Tema or Bolga or Kumasi or Sunyani, there is just one price per kilowatt hour. And looking at our operations, we realized that 4.879 pesos per kilowatt hour would be sufficient to do the business as we do today and also be able to sustain the business in the future.
So this 2.5102 per kilowatt hour is the transmission service charge.
That's right.
Because you are the transmitter.
Exactly.
So what the VRA gets is the bulk generation charge.
Exactly.
And then what we pay from ECG is what?
It's called the distribution service charge.
I see. So yours is in the middle.
It's in the middle. I'll take this opportunity to explain
how that works.
Yes. The rate that you see in your house is called the end user tariff. Now, the end user tariff is made up of the bulk generation tariff plus the transmission service charge plus the distribution service charge. So these three components make up the whole price that we see at our end. So that's how Gridco comes.
So if just, and this is for education, so if it's 1 CD, what percentage is the bulk generation charge? What percentage is the transmission service charge? And what percentage is the final? So if the final is 1, how much will you get and how much will VRA get?
Well, I tried to get a quick view at the end user tariff, and talking to some colleagues in ECG, it's approximately 65 pesos. This is the average. Again, let's not get it wrong. It's the average price. Now, when you work out Gridco's portion of that 65 or so pesos is 2.5 pesos per kilowatt hour.
Are you serious?
Yes, that's what Gridco charges per today.
So your portion is less than 3%.
Yes, about 3-point-something%.
Who gets
the end user?
So how much does ECG get?
I do not have that figure.
What about VRA?
But they both would get much higher.
I'm
than
just trying to understand the price build-up. So if it's 1 CD,
right? But I think there's a reason for that.
No, you haven't gotten the. I just want to know the difference. The reason
I know ours.
You get 2.4, but you need to know what the others get.
I know ours, but I can explain percentage-wise. I can't give an exact figure, but I think that generation cost, and generation requires gas and crude oil, and their inputs are much more expensive, to be honest, than ours. So,
but there are different generation types.
Yes.
There's hydro, there's thermal, there's gas.
Exactly.
There are IPPs.
Right. But Bernard, you notice that increasingly we are doing much more thermal than we do hydro today.
So how much does VRA get? If you get 2.5, how much do they get?
I don't want to hazard a guess, but I think the last BGT, if my memory serves me right, would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 pesos. Or thereabout, 29 pesos per kilo. I stand to be corrected.
I see.
But that's what my memory says.
Because you are asking for 100% increase as Gridco.
Well, it's been calculated to be about 95, people tell me. But I think that we should not get too hung up on these percentage figures. It's very important not to get hung up on the percentage. Now, I was given an example in one of the presentations that if you have an organization where the lowest person in the organization earns 100 cedis and the top person earns 10,000 cedis. If you increase the lowest person by 100%, you get 200 cedis. If you increase the topmost person by 50%, you'll get 15,000 cedis. So then to say that the lowest person got 100%, so he's got too much, I think that we should rather focus on the cost of doing the service. It's the cost that we are showing to the PRC right. If it is right, and that is the true cost, then that is the cost. And I can assure you that the PURC really interrogates these figures. They ask us for a lot of data to ensure that any asset that we didn't fund would not get returned on.
I'll come to the reasons why you're asking for the adjustment. But let's come to Pauline Asep. This process he's described, they go to PURC, they talk, move around the country, they make a proposal. Is this correct? Is this the way it should be done? Is the process okay as far as you guys are concerned?
So as far as the law is concerned, the process is right. Now, he mentioned that at some point they engage citizens, they engage key people, and that is what they did this week, right? Now, the question is whether or not the people you are engaging have adequate information to contribute to anything at all. So I raised the points there at PURC, the event, that it would have been good for, I think that it would have been good for people to have the details of the analysis before they get to the workshop. Right. And so at the workshop, how I felt was that we were being told what has been done. Now, to what extent can people interrogate the proposals? That was the question in my mind. And I don't think that was very open enough. So even though they engage, it should go beyond procedures to details.
But in terms of the reasons given, so from what I saw, ECG was there, Netco was there, Gridco was there. I didn't see VRA.
Right.
Is that okay? Is that not odd? Because the cost build-up starts from VRA.
Right. You are right. So that was also an issue that was raised at the forum. Right. Now, the generator incurs some cost, and that cost will be transferred onto, it constitutes the price build-up. So they ought to be there to let us know what the average tariff will be from their side. Then we can have a full picture of what is going to happen. But in the absence of VRA, I mean, I felt it was not enough. The information we had was not enough. So I believe VRA should have been there to let us know what their situation is and why they would demand what.
And in terms of the frequency of tariff adjustment, so I'm told in 2018 there was an automatic adjustment.
Right.
And that the last time we've had a major adjustment was
2015.
End of 2015.
Yeah.
Is that normal in terms of the time build up? So this is over 4 years ago, or 4 years, almost 3.5 to 4 years. Is that how it's supposed to work?
If you ask whether that is how it's supposed to work, then there has to be a certain benchmark, acceptable benchmark. So he would be in the best position to tell us what the acceptable benchmark is, because I think so 3 years is quite some time. A lot of things could happen within 3 years, and that is why we have the automatic adjustment period. So that should take care of any hiccups in the market. So for me, from where I sit, behind a veil of ignorance, that is an okay process. But the question is, what is the standard? So if he can tell us.
So that's a good one.
Yeah, I think that the PRC, again, in its tariff methodology, spells out clearly that major tariff reviews are done between 2 to 3 years. Yes, so even though we are saying 2015, this tariff was announced, I think, 14 December 2015 and took effect. So it effectively was for 2016 tariffs. So we've done 16, 17, 18, and now we have a new one.
But in 18 there was a change. In 2018, you are saying it was minor or it was automatic. But in 2018, I remember they announced some tariff.
In October, right?
Yeah, but I think I remember also
where is it? October?
That was in October.
It was February 2018.
No, effective October 1, 2018.
Yeah.
Effective October 1.
That would be 3 months ago.
Yeah, so why are you asking for a tariff adjustment just 3 months after?
No, the last tariff review took effect from 15th February 2018. And I remember at the time PRC announced that it was a special tariff. So it was not the major.
No, but I have a document in front of me spelling out tariffs effective 1st October 2018, unless I'm mistaken. Signed by Amakutufo, Ejekum Hini, Seko, Edu Jemfi, Kwegrin, Owusu Kranting, Opong, Dufie, and Opang. These are surnames.
Well,
unless I'm confused, I have. It's called PURC Publication of Electricity Tariffs. In accordance with the statutory duty imposed on the PURC, which is the Commission, under Section 19 of Act 538, this publication is made this 18th day of October. Then they go through a long list of things. But then until the next major tariff review, the electricity tariff shall be adjusted in accordance with the automatic adjustment formula published on 15 February 2011. So this is the Gazette number. But then the effective date is October 2018.
Well, the tariff of 2.5 pesos that I mentioned for Gridco, we've been billing that since February 15, 2018 to date.
Which means that even though they announced tariffs in October, it's the same rate for February. Because this document is insisting that it's October. Anyway,
but I can't speak to that.
Not to split it, but this was from the PURC website. Anyhow, so how different is what we are paying now from what we were paying 3 months ago in October?
From the transmission point, it's been the same
thing.
Since February 2018. Like I said, 15 February 2018.
So, okay, from December 2015 to October or February 2018, was there a change?
I can't recollect, but again, like I said, the methodology explains that, like Pauline said, in between the 2-3 years, there would be fluctuations in exchange rate, depreciation of the CD, inflation.
So did it go up or did it, between October and the 2015 date, did the tariff go up or come down?
I cannot recall.
You cannot tell?
Yes, I cannot. Yes, so go ahead.
I remember from one of the analysis we did on the October one, we noticed that there was an increment for the transmission service charge. So it means that from Gridco's perspective, the tariff was increased to this one we have now, the 2.510. Okay. So what I don't remember is the tariff before that. But in October, when this took effect, the document you read, when the tariff took effect, it was 2.51. And at that time, they had increased the tariff, the transmission service charge.
Okay. Now, Kofi, I'll come to your reasons, but I want you to just understand. I notice you are answering the questions for Gridco, which is fine. Right. But we also need to understand that when the program was held, NEDCO, ECG, and Gridco all spoke.
Yes.
And they all asked for adjustments upwards. So even though you are speaking for Gridco, the consumers are not listening to Gridco alone. So I want you to justify why there needs to be the adjustment to wherever it is going to, having in mind that you're not the only person who's asking for an increase. Do you answer my question?
Yeah, I understand your question. Good. But Bernard, you'd appreciate that I have not interrogated the ECG figures or the NEDCO figures to see whether it's justified or not justified. But what I have information on is my figures. Again, I'm not... The job that we do is very separate from their job. We have a role to help evacuate power when there's generation, step it up to a higher voltage so we can transmit it over long distances with minimal losses. And then we step it down and also to the point of withdrawals for our customers who are about 30. Again, we do bulk. We don't do... So ECG is just one customer of Gridco. So my figures, yes, I can speak to that. But I don't know the basis, and I wouldn't want to hazard a guess into why the ECG figures should go up or down. Or
I won't press you, but I'm just saying that in whatever you do, remember that consumers are listening to you as one.
Right.
Because in our minds, we don't care who is who. We just know that when I go and buy prepaid, this is what I'm paying. We don't know whether Gridco had 2%, ECG had 30%, VRA has 70%. That's not our issue.
Right.
So why should we adjust the what you call it, the transmission service charge upwards?
Well, I think that transmission service charge has to be reviewed, primarily because if you look at our work and then again what I explained when we did the stakeholder engagement. In 2016 or December 15, when the major tariff review was done, Gridco's assets were just above 2 billion cedis. Over the last 2-3 years, our assets are over 4.2 billion cedis. That's over 108% jump in asset base. Now, if your asset base increases by that much, obviously your operations and maintenance cost would go up. Somebody was telling me if somebody has 10 shops in Accra and he opens 10 more shops in Accra, do we expect his O&M to be about the same? Obviously not. So primarily, our request is based on this increase in asset base.
Increase in asset base?
Yes.
What does that mean?
maybe I'd have to come back a little. But, GRIDCO's job, as I said, is to transmit the power. And we do this through transmission lines, high voltage transmission lines. And therefore, we have to continuously build these transmission lines and substations. Because so long as the demand keeps increasing, you and I keep switching on and we need more to do our industries, we have to be able to move the power from one point to the other. Otherwise, you will find the generators all being in one corner and there's no transmission to send the power. In our substations, we have something we call transformer capacity, where we're talking about the sizes of our transformers to be able to deliver the power. That too has grown significantly. I think now we are over, 7,000 MVA in transformer capacity compared to the 2016 when it was 5,200. Our transmission lines have increased by over 1,000 kilometers since the last major tariff review. So obviously, this increase in assets require that you do more work on these assets. And our only purpose is to be able to deliver the power to the clients. But more importantly, we should be able to sustain this business. If we do not maintain these things, you may not have a problem now, but you just reducing how long and how sustainable the business will be in future. And if you think about Ghana all of us wanting to become a more developed country in terms of industry and all that, then we would have to build this transmission line. So our tariff we are asking for is to serve what is here. And remember that these assets have been built, you build it in two ways. Either you fund it yourself if you have the money, or you borrow. Now, GRIDCO borrows on the back of its balance sheet. We do not get any giveaways or anything from any government. But then we go to the commercial market, they look at your balance sheet. Do your ratios look good? Can you pay us when we give you this loan? And based on that, we are granted loans and expected to pay over the life of the loan. So basically, these are the key reasons why we are asking for an adjustment.
Increase in investment in your assets.
Yes.
And the fact that you have no subsidy from anywhere or any support from anywhere. We'll take a short break. Right. When I come back, I'll try and look at your numbers more scrupulously, and I'll ask Pauline what she thinks. But we're talking about proposed tariff adjustments. We received some interesting comments. Do you understand what he's saying? Do you agree? Let us know. We'll be right back.
Quero ver todo mundo balançando. Ninguém pode ficar parado. É só loucura. Mexe. Witness the twisted and tangled story of betrayal, greed, vengeance, and love in the award-winning Brazil Avenue. A woman led by greed gets rid of her husband, who is Rita's father, and sends Rita away to a filthy landfill. Rita finds love in Batata, but they are soon separated by adoption into different families, far away from each other. Many years later, all paths cross again, as Rita, now a renowned chef, seeks to pay back her stepmother for taking away her happiness as a child. It's the story of twists, turns, suspense, and thrilling action in Brazil Avenue. Brazil Avenue airs Wednesday to Friday at 10 p.m. and the Omnibus on Saturday at 9 p.m. Only on CTTV. The policymakers, the top personalities, the people at the center of the news. They speak on Face to Face. One-of-a-kind access into the lives and the stories of our time.
So these are some of the things. If you want time, as I was boarding the plane,
it just
in the
came
queue,
to you.
Just straight from the launch to the queue, a song drop. So
Face to Face with Godfred Akotobuafo every Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. This is The Point of View. We are trying to understand the justification for upward tariff adjustments by power utilities. We have in studio the man from Gridco, Mr. Kofi Nto Oredo, is the market operations manager. We also have from the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Pauline Anaman, forgive me, Pauline Anaman. I don't know where that name came from. Here are some comments from viewers. Ben, will the VRA also increase their prices? Cost of electricity in Bamahuwa is expensive. And if the distributor VRA should also increase the cost of utility, it will affect the consumers VRA supplies electricity to. I am Joshua Klu writing from Teshi. The increase will be justified if only the services will be improved. Stephen from King Tampo. Hello, Bernard. We won't pay for any upward review. They should cut back on their losses and be more efficient. We pay them with our taxes. And instead of them being efficient, they are always asking for tariff reviews. Gilbert in Ashaiman. Adam says, hello, Mr. Avle. Kindly ask your panelists to explain in simple terms how this proposed tariff increase will affect the cost to the end user. Example, my average electricity monthly bill is 80 Ghana. How will this be affected by the proposed tariff? Adam, I think I will let Pauline do that. But before that, we spoke to a cross-section of Ghanaians on their views about this issue.
At a public hearing to discuss the new tariff review, Gridco asked for a 95% increment in its charges, while the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, requested almost a 40% hike in distribution charges. PURC, however, ensured that tariff sets will be fair to consumers. The AGI Business Barometer reports have over the years indicated that the high cost of electricity remains the number one challenge of businesses. I spoke to some tailors and a hairdresser on how a possible increase in tariffs will affect their business operations.
I think for the ECG matter, I don't know, but it is really affecting us, and being going to be increased, no, I don't think it will help some of us. I think here I spend around, in a week, no, let's say somewhere around 500 cedis. Yeah. It will affect my income. It will affect, and it will reduce certain things of mine, and which is going to affect us very, very, very. I don't know, but also what I would say is, if they increase the electricity, I think our source of income is going to be low, and we can't buy certain things. And for me, I'm paying fees, and it is going to affect me very well.
I think the price should remain the same. But when the price increase, it will affect my business. I think the price will be the same.
But this time, it will affect because of if they increase the thing high, it won't be good for us. But how will they pay normal one? It will about, if you get about 1% or it will be okay.
Baby shop cry won your judgment or mutu musa never affect ye bebre. And yamin kwansu, a bear affecting Crawford bebre.
What about households? How will they be affected should electricity prices go up?
In the first place, it will, put us in a tight corner because no one has projected or thought of the increase. So if they should come out and say next month we are increasing it, then it will affect us because most of us our pay is static. So that will be a problem to us. Even before the end of the month, I'm already broke, so it affects me because every week I have to buy.
Oh, electricity price no mutu ma ba ha adwen. Chese ne eba omuntum no kura no ne eba no kura yintumi ntua. Atase. Me say oba university paper na de man na me de ka bebele kura de bia me office kura na. Chese na ya asem. So at times kura bia okutua kura no kura so omuntif. Na esi am san batuma man. Na mutu man ya. Sebe ya ukokronko ya adwuma na oba wanya 20 Ghana bia. Boso no electricity bill na so wo dan ka. Nti bobo dem 20 Ghana na instead of be show wo nkola na so de be hwefie no wo bo ano sana de kotua electricity bill. Utumu say enye And yet, I ban it. I will know more kind of ban on blame be no young be my because mean to me, go yet one of them with electricity bill. Nam or comment me. As I say,
businesses and households are only hopeful that should there be an increase in utility tariffs, it will not be significant enough to affect the operations. Reporting for City News, I am Anita Arthur.
Pauline, the people don't look happy. Even though they don't understand the cost build-up, they are very clear what they don't want. Can you help us to appreciate what ECG said, what NETCO said, in addition to what Gridco is saying? If the proposal should be agreed, what would this mean for consumers?
Okay. First of all, there is something I want to clarify. It appears that once everybody heard that Gridco, ECG, NETCO, they are all increasing tariffs, everybody assumes that the tariff level they are proposing is what they will get. But the truth is that, as we have discussed already, these are various components that will now be put together, and then the tariff will be charged. Now, the second point I want to make is that there are different consumers in Ghana. We have the residential consumers, we have non-residential consumers, and we have special load consumers. And consistently, residential consumers have had the lowest of tariff. So in 2018, for instance, when you put together in composite terms, residential consumers paid about 58.85 pesos per kilowatt hour. Non-residential consumers paid about 80.33 per kilowatt hour, pesos per kilowatt hour. And then the special load consumers also paid 72.65. This is on the composite. If you segregate it, even at the consumers, the residential level, we have different.
So those who are using power for more productive means are paying more.
They are paying more.
And those of us who are watching Cartoon Network,
we are paying less.
Okay.
So I want to tell Ghanaians to chill. Okay.
They should chill.
They should chill. It hasn't gotten there yet. Okay. Please chill.
Good.
Now, the other point I want to make about the increment is that it is true that by proposing increment by all these utilities, it is likely to reflect in the consumers' livelihoods. That is true. But we have to understand that since 2017, I'll give you some data about the trend in tariffs. In 2016, for instance, the tariff was 81.7. This is general for everyone, for all the categories I mentioned. If you strike the average, we paid 81.7. Then in 2017, it came down to 76.4.
Really?
Pesos, yes.
So when this government came to office, they reduced the tariff?
They reduced the tariff in 2017. And when there was the review in 2018, it reduced further to 70.61.
So it's been coming down since 2016?
Exactly. It's been coming down since 2016.
Wow.
So this has been the trend. So that's why I'm saying they should chill.
So when you listen to the complaint, it's not grounded too much in the trend.
Yes.
Because it's actually been coming down.
It has actually been coming down. Now, what is the effect of this on the utilities? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. We have heard about ECG in debt. We have heard about Gridco itself incurred about 76 million Ghana cedis debt last year.
September.
Yeah, as of September, they incurred 76 million Ghana cedis debt. That aside, they ascribed exchange losses to, they ascribed about 100 million cedis to exchange losses. You see, so from where I sit, from a neutral perspective, while I understand the consumer's concern, and while I know that the PURC is concerned about consumers, and PURC has the moral duty and the legal duty to balance all interests, I also understand the challenges of these utilities. For example, Mr. Kofi was talking about how they have invested in assets because of the increasing demand. If you look at the data again, in 2008, demand was about 2,000 megawatts. It has increased to more than 4,000 megawatts. That means we need investments in infrastructure to make sure that we have quality services. And these are some of the investments that these utilities are making, especially Gridco, right? So if they are asking for an increase, it makes sense that way. That aside, these utilities operate on dollar terms, but we pay in CD terms. So if our CD depreciates, it means they are incurring more cost in providing us services. Meanwhile, see how tariffs have been reducing. Now, which employer would dare reduce an employee's salary every year? But then we expect that, on the side of services, the trend should go down.
So this is very well said. But why are they making so much losses? Is it our fault? Is it because of the reduction in the tariff? Because I have your 3-year performance, and it's not very good. Your revenue increased from 473 million in 2015 to 715 million in 2017. So revenue increased by about 50% over the 3-year period. Your net profit, however, decreased from a profit of 44 million in 2015. You now have a net loss from 2017 of 31 million cedis. Right. That's number one problem with you guys. Number two, you are highly leveraged. Your gearing ratio is 1.48.
Exactly.
Are these all because of tariff? If somebody is incurring losses, I can understand there are cost issues there. But you are borrowing so much too.
Yes,
so explain these financials, why we should bear the brunt. And so you are not the only one. When I went through ECG, it was even the worst than you guys. So everybody is making losses. The revenue is increasing, but you are incurring a lot of losses. Right. You are highly leveraged. You are in a lot of debt, at least ECG. And yet you keep saying we should pay more. Just explain what's going on here.
Well, Bernard, like Pauline said, you mentioned some figures that you would see profits to some point, but by the time the year closes, and that is primarily due to the exchange loss we're talking about. Now, if between January and September, your exchange loss is 110 million cedis, no matter how much profit, if you made even 76 million profit, when it hits you with 110 in exchange losses, you go straight into red.
But why do you have exchange losses? You buy what?
Almost everything that we buy is imported. The transformers that we use are not off-the-shelf items that you can pick, and they are not manufactured here. We need to make an order for a transformer. We need to import these high voltage lines of 330 kV and so on. Almost everything we do is done in US dollars or Forex, I should say. So if we had those things being manufactured here, probably there will be large CD components that you may not see that big exchange loss. So once you've borrowed on this, you have to pay back in the hard currency. So if 110 million is close to $20 million, I mean, I'm just trying to convert. That goes out because the CD has depreciated from the time that you borrowed to the time that you are making the payment. In fact, there have been instances that some of our financiers, I'm not going to name them, but had opted to stop disbursing funds. Yes, on projects. Because they can see that you will not be able to pay what is given you. Why should he put in more? Yeah. So these are some of the situations. But then remember that the demand doesn't stop growing. The demand keeps growing year by year. And therefore otherwise there'll be one time that we have enough generation sitting down, there is demand for it, and there's no transmission to carry it. I don't think anybody will forgive us for that. But another thing I'd want to say is that the PURC really scrutinizes these figures. But if we have an asset that we didn't fund, PURC excludes it, that we don't get any return on, which is right. Because we didn't fund it. Why do we need a return on? However, they will give us money to operate and maintain. So it's a very tough job, like I said, for the PURC. It's not a nice place to be. But they have a responsibility to ensure that the businesses stay in service. Else, we might lose it all completely. But the other side of the customer being able to afford it is also critical. It's also very critical, because what is the essence of power that nobody can buy?
Right.
I have
a correction to make.
You have a correction, okay.
Yeah. So I earlier on made a statement about the demand trend. I compared 2008 to 2017, but what I mentioned was rather installed capacity. So I'd like to correct myself to say in 2007, rather, our demand was around 1,200. And by 2017, it was like around 2,100. So,
but your general point is still correct.
It's still correct, exactly.
We will take another break. When we come back, there's a lot of comments coming through. Even though people hear you, it sounds like you're mine. So I'll see what I'll do with your comments. So quite a lot of comments coming in on tariff adjustment. This is the point of view. My guests are Pauline Annaman, Head of Policy, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, and Kofi Nto Oredu, Market Operations Manager, Ghana Grid Company. Don't go away.
We spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
Those security guys who were supposed to protect them, I'm sure by now somebody must have all of them arrested. They must all be arrested because it's an unprovoked attack.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.
Welcome back. This is still the point of view on City TV. We're talking proposed tariff adjustments, and you heard some people we played earlier on who said they are not interested in the adjustment upwards because they can't even pay. Here are more comments. So, Bernard, not that I am happy to pay high tariffs, but I agree with the man 100%. From God Niti. That's the name he has here. Kofi Asante in Kaswa. Bernard, can you tell Kofi that we, the people of Ghana, what we want is to pay less for power? So he said I should tell you. Ahincho in Kumasi. I think this tariff increment is very necessary, especially looking at the challenges in the power sector. If indeed we want to sustain power delivery in this country, it's very necessary to accept this course. So Ahincho supports you. We complain about electricity prices. However, we buy airtime far more than we pay for electricity. If these adjustments are justified, then let's support them. But would you believe our lights are off here at Race Junction? So I am watching on Facebook.
Oh.
The guy supports you, but he doesn't have light. Very serious. Hello. Your Greco guest said should tell us if their operations will be significantly affected if they don't get this increase they are requesting for. And if the cost build-up can be made public for us to interrogate the details. Thanks. I am Senna from Gimpa Law School.
That's my
Then,
colleague.
If these institutions move away from government interference, I can safely say there will be no losses. I believe government owes them more than the citizens. They should change all meters to prepaid. This is Mauli. Charlie, it looks like your education is going down. You are getting more supporters. October 2018 adjustment is the result of automatic adjustment formula. So compare October 2018 with the previous quarters to see if there was increase or not. Thanks. So fairly mixed, more positive comments from the public, which goes back to the question, why you don't invite more people to come and listen to what you are saying? Because based on your explanation, a lot of people seem to agree here. But when we heard the news first, that they say you want that increase, you see so is it that we need to change the approach for the public education to make it more, I don't know, media engagement? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that particularly for this stakeholder engagement, it's organized by the PURC.
Okay.
So they reach out and invite groups of identifiable bodies, if you would like to call them so,
okay,
to these events. But I agree with you that even as the utilities ourselves, it's important to engage more with the public in shows like this and other ones to really sell our story. Because I'm sure there are people who really appreciate what is going on. In fact, Bernard, when we were in Kumasi last week, one of the main projects, the 330 kV line from Abuazi through Pristia to Kumasi, Kintampo, Tamale, and then ending in Bolgatanga. Just a small stretch of it between Pristia and Kumasi had been energized. And the voltages in Kumasi have really shot up. They were really bad voltages in Kumasi. And people are tested to it. But remember that as Gridco, our customers are not the 5 million ECG customers directly. So those 30 bulk customers like ECG, Netco, Valco, Anglo Gold, and a few others can attest to the impact of these projects. Now, these projects, like I said, are funded mainly on debt. And that's why you spoke about leverage. Now, if we do not, somebody asked, if we do not get these increments, what would happen? It would mean that we might have to continue what we've been doing. And I'll tell you what we've been doing. Gridco, in its situation, decided to defer non-critical maintenance work. Because we cannot, for instance, bush clearing. Every year we need to clear.
Bush clearing?
Yes, we do clear.
Part of your work?
Yes. Over the 6,000 kilometers of lines that we have to make sure we clear all the weeds, because a tree can just fall on it and you get an outage. So we have to do that and check encroachment and all that. Now, if you don't do that, after some time you might get some tree falling on. But the situation was such that we had to eliminate some of those ones.
Okay. What's the situation with your debt? Not debt. Does government owe you?
No, we do not supply government directly.
So you don't have any? No. Okay, does ECG owe you?
Yes, ECG has some debt.
How much do they owe you?
I think that the last check it would be around 600-700 million cedis.
600 to 700 million cedis?
Yes.
Over what period?
Oh, I think that maybe I may not be able to, but it's not just a year. I mean, I'll be able to
700.
Yes.
Because your revenue for 2017 was 712 million, right? And you are making losses of, I don't know, 30 million cedis and stuff like that. So 600 million.
Right. These are receivables.
Yeah, you've supplied them, they have not paid you. So it's affecting your cash flow.
Affecting cash flow, yes. Yes, but you mentioned revenue, like
I was comparing. I want to just compare it.
Not,
I understand you. I want to just give it a sense of perspective.
Right.
That if your whole year's revenue is this amount, and somebody owes you this chunk of money,
right?
Obviously your cash flow will be affected. Polly, what are your recommendations going forward in terms of the tariff proposal and also how we can make this thing work better?
So before I get to that point, I'd like to make a preceding point. Okay. Whilst I have mentioned that there are justifiable reasons to increase the tariffs, there are some justifiable reasons not to increase the tariff. Right?
Okay.
From the data shows that commercial or the industrial consumers of power in Ghana are now shifting from the grid to self-generation.
Okay.
Meanwhile, they are the source of much of their revenues, right? So if we find companies, manufacturing companies, and even mining companies trying to move off the grid, what that means is that there will be excess supply. What that excess supply means is that we will still be paying more because there is wastage.
I get it.
Now, the other point is that we have some power plants that we have procured. We have procured them on capacity charge basis. So if we are not able to produce, then it means more cost. So what we are proposing...
We have run out of time.
Okay.
So let me just end with the final point. Mausi Akiti says, Bernard, please bring Pauline for energy issues more often. Her submissions are easy to understand. She's very good. Thank you very much. Somebody too says he likes your white beard. It's nice.
Thank you.
Yes, goatee. I like it. Please, our time is finished. So go and sleep and we'll continue tomorrow. So we will wait. ECG, PURC has 30 days to make a decision. Probably 3 weeks now. 3 weeks left. So we'll see what happens. You hear it first on City. Good night.